Welcome to another video in this Linux for Beginners tutorial series. In this video we're going to cover piping and redirections. Piping is a way for us to chain multiple Linux commands together. Let's say we're doing ls, and let's say afterwards we wanted to do something else like word count for a particular file. We use this piping symbol here, which is this vertical line, and it allows us to take the output of one command and use it as an input for the next command. Now we could just do wc, I think we can do that, right? But we can also chain things together. Let's say we also wanted to do lsl, and then we want to do something like let's say we want a cat anaconda. So what this normally does is it takes the contents of this file, prints it onto the screen. What if we didn't want it to print on the screen and we wanted to do something else afterwards, like search for something using grep? So we'll search for SE Linux. Let's do the count. Okay, so we get 2. We're taking the output of this file, of this command, and we're using as an input for the next one. Now, you might be saying, well, we could just do this. We could just specify. We could just specify the file like this using grep, and yeah, you're right, we could. But again, I'm just giving you an example of what you could do. There's almost unlimited ways you can use this piping symbol to chain commands together, but the way it works is the output for command 1 is then used in the output as the input for command 2, which is then used as an input for command 3, so on and so forth. Let's do something else like, okay, let's cat anaconda CFG file, then let's pipe that and take the head of, let's take the head of it, then let's sort it in alphabetical order, then let's take the tail or the last 4, and then in that let's search for, we'll ignore the case and we'll search for something like SE Linux, and then we'll get the count, right? So what we're doing is we're taking the contents of anaconda.cfg file, we're then getting the head, which is the first 10 lines, we're then sorting that in alphabetical order, we're then going to take the last 4 lines of that, and then we're going to search for SE Linux inside of that, and you can see we've got 0 occurrences, right? Get creative with this. You can really pretty much do anything. That's piping. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but very, very powerful. Redirection is a little bit more complex. It's not really complex, but there's just a little bit more to it. Redirection, so before we kind of can understand it, there are inputs and outputs, right, in the Linux environment. Input and output is distributed across 3 different streams. You've got the standard input, you've got the standard output, and you've got the standard error streams, and they're also numbered. So what is it? A standard input is referred to as 0. You've got standard out, which is 1, and you've got standard error, I think that's what it is, yeah, stdr, which is 2. These are the standard ways in which input is used, output are used, and errors are used. So let me explain. The standard output for the Linux command line is the screen. So when I do cat anaconda CFG, it takes the output of that cat command and it kind of prints it using the standard output stream, which is the the terminal. It prints it to the terminal. But there are other output streams that we could use. For example, a file. A file is an output stream, right? So if we do something like echo, which prints using the standard output stream, so it prints hello to the screen. If we wanted to redirect the output, which is hello, but we didn't want to use the standard output stream, which is printing to the terminal, and we wanted to put it into a file, for example, how would we do that? We can't just do echo hello and then we'll do I don't know, hello.txt, right? It doesn't really work. As you can see, it actually prints out both. So the way we do this is we use this greater than symbol, which is saying redirect the output of this command to another output stream. So let's use this hello.txt file as another output stream. Now when we do that and we cat hello.txt, we can see that hello has, instead of being printed onto the screen like it was in this command, it's been placed into hello.txt. And this is a way that, like I said, we can redirect inputs and outputs and errors into different streams. We can do the same with other commands, for example lsl. So this gives us a list of all the things or all the directories and files in our current working directory, and again we can redirect this output into a file if we wanted to, for example. So we can do lsl and we're going to redirect that into ls.txt. Now when we cat ls.txt, we should see all of this. And let me just clear the screen first. Right, so as we can see, this is inside of the file, not on the screen. So that's standard, that's output redirection. Oh, that's a few examples. We can also redirect input streams. So we can redirect input to a different stream. The standard input stream is, kind of the keyboard, right? So basically, during standard interactions between the user and this terminal, the standard input comes from the keyboard, from our keyboard. We can redirect this to essentially say that, okay, we can do cat anaconda -chaos cfg. This is coming from the standard input stream because we've typed it with our keyboard, and we can do that fine. But what we could also do is we could do cat, and we could use this less than sign and then say anaconda cfg. This isn't taking the standard input. This is saying we're going to use this file, the actual file itself, as the input to this cat command, and it works pretty much the same. Now that works for the cat command, and it also works for some other commands. However, the behavior isn't always the same. And let me just really quickly have a look and see an example that I can give you. Right. Again, another way you can think of this. Okay, let's do ls devops dir. So we're going to use this devops dir as an argument for this ls command. Now this is gathered from the standard input stream, and it's going to print out what we've got here, which is the contents of this directory. We could also say, okay, well, instead of using the standard input stream, take the file and use that as an input stream for this ls command, and then perform it. What's going on there? Don't know what's just happened there. Oh, sorry. ls doesn't work. It ignores it basically. Yeah, so it doesn't quite work with ls. Let me show you another thing that it doesn't work with. Let's remove error.txt. Now let's just force it as well. That works fine. So again, it's using this error.txt gathered from the standard input and using it to remove the file. So what if we tried to do this? So this, should make sense. We're saying, okay, take the actual file and give it to this remove command. So remove it. Now it's actually giving us an error saying no such file, or oh, sorry. I already removed it. Let me give another one. Let's do hello. Sorry, one sec. I don't know what is going on here. Okay, it's because I was using force. Yeah, let's not use force. Let's say, okay, rm. So this is how it normally kind of goes. We're going to remove the file.txt. Okay, yes, fine. So now it's not there anymore. What if we did something like this? Hello.txt. Okay, well, it doesn't let us. It's saying missing operand. The reason for this is because this command can't deal with streams. It needs a file, right? So it needs you to specify what to the actual file, what to remove. And now we can do it. So that the standard input, input redirection is a little bit different. It's a little bit kind of more nuanced than output redirection. Let me try to give you another example if that doesn't make sense. We can do WC, which is word count, and we can give, sorry, what's here? Let's do word count error.txt. Now what this does is it prints out the word count of this file, and then it also prints out the file itself, right? The file name, sorry. If we did WC and we use this less than sign to say we want to redirect the input into this, let's see what happens. So we do get the word count, but we don't get this error.txt printed out, and the reason for that is because some programs, for example WC word count, can't deal with reading input streams in the same way. So when given a file to open, usually WC prints the name of the file as well as a number of lines, words and characters. If we just give it the stream, it doesn't have any way of knowing that this is coming from a file, right? It doesn't know because it takes the file itself, and so it can't print the name. So we can see that redirecting inputs, it can work and we can do it, but for some commands it has it changes the behavior of it. So with WC, for example, it changes the behavior. It doesn't know about this error.txt name, and so it can't print it. So that's just something to kind of be aware of. Another thing with redirections is errors. So let's say we do something like ls, or let's say we do cat hello.txt. Now this should throw an error because there is no hello.txt in this directory, and as we can see, it does. What if we wanted, okay, we didn't really care, we didn't want to print this out to the screen, we wanted to again redirect the output somewhere else. So let's try cat hello.txt. Let's redirect that to error. Okay, let me remove that first. What is it saying? Oh, okay, sorry. There you go. Let's cat hello.txt and then let's redirect that output into error.txt. Okay, so it's not letting us, right? Yeah. So it's saying that, look, we can't do that, right? We can't redirect the output into error.txt because it doesn't exist. It throws an error. So the way we deal with this is we need to redirect the error itself. So we do this by putting a 2 in front of this more than sign. So remember I said at the beginning there are 3 streams. There's input, which is 1, output, which is input, which is 0, output, which is 1, and error stream is 2. We need to actually specify the stream that we're redirecting in the case of error. So we put the 2. So we're saying we're redirecting this error stream into this error.txt file instead of the standard output stream, which is printing it. So now we can do this fine, and then we can cat error.txt, and it should contain the error that we see here, right? Because we're redirecting that into the file instead of to the screen. And as we can see, when we print out the contents of error.txt, we can see it here. So that's a way to deal with error streams. We could also, the last thing is, if we put an ampersand in front of this greater than sign, what we're saying is we can redirect the output regardless of if it's a normal output or if it's an error. So regardless of whether it's an error or not, it will still be directed to this error.txt. So when we do that, in fact, let's do it like this, right? And then we do cat error.txt. It takes the error and it redirects it to the output stream that we're specifying. If we did, let's say cat error.txt, so we're saying take the output of this error.txt file and put it back into error.txt, and then we cat error.txt, we can see that it's concatenating it, right? So we can also use the output stream. Let's say we want to get the head of Anaconda, and if I use a double greater than sign, this, what it will do is, let's do text.txt. It will append, the output of this command. It'll append it to the output stream that we're specifying instead of overriding it. If I just do that, right, this will override it. So now when we say cat text.txt, we've got the head, right? Fine. But if we then do this, right? So when we do it like this, we're just with a single greater than sign. It will check if this text.txt exists. If it doesn't, it will create a new file and it'll kind of run the command and put everything into the file as we specified. But if it does already exist, then it will just override it. So if we then just do, let's do echo hello, this will override it will override all of this, and it will just put hello in there, as we can see. But if we wanted to concatenate it, now we use double greater than sign, and now we have hello. Where is it? Let me just clear the screen. So we've got hello, which was from the first one, and then we've concatenated it to the end. So that's how we can use pipes and redirections, and we can use them together. So let's say we wanted to do something like, okay, let's do cat Anaconda, then we want to take the head, we're going to take the top 6 lines, then we want to sort that, then we're going to take the last line, and then we're going to search for the word, the full word, I don't know, hello. And then we're going to output that to text.txt. We're going to append it. Okay, now let's see, cat, let's clear, cat text.txt, right? There's nothing there because because this didn't find it. Let's do count, so we should get a 0 at the end. Right, so we got 0. So this is just a brief kind of introduction to piping and redirecting, input and output streams, as well as error streams. This is a really useful thing. Like I said, we are able to kind of put a lot more complex commands together, and we're able to actually deal with the outputs and inputs and errors the way that we want to. So this is really, really important, especially when we come to kind of bash scripting. So make sure you understand this. If I'm not the best at explaining, go watch a few other videos, have a look at some tutorials, but get used to being able to kind of chain or pipe commands together and then redirecting the inputs and outputs to, you know, other things like files, for example. Get really good at this, and then I'll see you on the next one.